There are multiple ways to evaluate a trig function. There's actually three that I know of. There's the just using your unit circle coordinates, which unless you have your unit circle memorized, that's kind of hard. The second one is to use reference triangles, which is the method that I'm going to use in this video. And the third one is the hand trick, which will be talked about later. Trick, not trick. Okay, so um, this is how I was taught actually how to evaluate trig functions. I never really fully memorized the unit circle. I didn't have to. I feel like this way is a way that you don't have to have things memorized. You don't have to recall. All you have to do is construct a reference triangle. So think about, we're going to find sine, cosine, and tangent of the following. So we are 5 pi over 3. So if you think about which triangle you have here, 5 pi over 3 takes us into the fourth quadrant. And we are creating this pi over 3 angle. So that's actually 60 degrees. So think about the reference triangle that you have created from that. It's a 30, 60, 90 degree triangle. And I know the unit circle. Obviously the hypotenuse is 1, and that's going to make your 2 legs be a half, but I always tried to just make things a little bit simpler, and I thought of the shortest side being 1, so that's going to be opposite to 30 degrees. That makes the hypotenuse 2 and the square root of 3. It's going to have the same proportions as our unit circle, it's just now I don't have to deal with fractions. So if I draw that reference triangle, I can find the sine, cosine, and tangent of anything because I'm going to just use my SOHCAHTOA rules from geometry. So the sine of the angle would be, angle is here, so the sine is going to be opposite over adjacent, so square root of 3 over 2. Cosine of the angle has adjacent over hypotenuse, so 1 over 2, and therefore then tangent is going to be opposite over adjacent, so square root of 3 over 1. Now, our sines are going to be different since we are in the fourth quadrant. If you recall from talking about our unit circle, all of the angles are positive in the first, only sine is positive in the second, only tangent is positive in the third, and only cosine is positive in the fourth. So we have all students take calc. So cosine is the only one that's positive. So if here are my numerical values, that means sine's negative and cosine's negative. And I can find and evaluate what any of the angles are. So if we wanted to try some other examples, let's try the sine of 4 pi over 3. 4 pi over 3 is an angle in the third quadrant. So I look like this. I have my 60 degree angle. I have my 30 degree angle. So I am using a reference triangle that looks like that. So if I want the sine of this angle, it's going to be the square root of 3 over 2. Since I am in my third quadrant, we're going to have all students take. So tangent's what's positive down here, and since it's sine, I'm going to have negative. Cosine of pi over 3, I'm in the first quadrant. I have my pi over 3, so I have pi over 6, so we have 1, 2 square roots of 3 if I draw my reference triangle. So I want the cosine of it, which would be adjacent over hypotenuse, so 1/2. And all trig functions are positive in this quadrant, so here I am at 1/2. So tangent over pi over 6. So I'm in the first quadrant. I have a reference angle of pi over 6. So I have a 30, 60, 90 again. Opposite is of pi over 6 is the shortest side. So I'm going to draw my reference triangle with 1, 2 square roots of 3. So if I want tangent, we're going to have opposite over adjacent. Tangent is positive in this quadrant, so we are positive, but let's rationalize. So we have the square root of 3 over 3. So drawing a little quick reference triangle does make this a little bit easier. Let's do one more that is not a 30/60. So let's just do this pi over 4 negative. So negative is going to take us down into the fourth quadrant. So I am creating a 45, 45, 90-degree triangle. So if I make those two sides 1, I don't have to deal with fractions. So I have tangent, which would be opposite over adjacent, which would be 1 over 1. And all students take calc, so tangent is negative in the fourth quadrant, so we're going to have a negative.